Two global figures, one studio built for a polite conversation. What was supposed to be a thoughtful discussion about service, trauma, and responsibility would quietly turn into something far more dangerous. By the end of the hour, one chair would be left empty, and Prince Harry would walk out of the view while the cameras were still rolling. But the moment everything changed didn't look dramatic at all. The studio lights of the view glowed softly that morning, washing the familiar set in warm tones meant to signal comfort, safety, and civility. The audience applauded as Prince Harry walked out, his expression composed, almost rehearsed. He wore a tailored navy suit, open collar, no tie, carefully casual, approachable, modern, unroyal. He nodded to the crowd, offered a polite smile to Whoopi Goldberg, and took his seat. A few moments later, Angelina Jolie entered from the opposite side of the stage. The applause changed, not louder, different, slower, heavier, respect mixed with curiosity. She wore black, simple and unadorned, her posture calm, her expression neutral. She didn't scan the audience, she didn't smile for the cameras. She acknowledged the hosts, sat down, folded her hands loosely in her lap, and waited. From the outside, it looked like a normal episode. Inside the room, the air felt tighter than usual. Whoopi opened the segment with her usual warmth. "We're honored to have two people here today who've dedicated their lives to causes bigger than themselves." Harry inclined his head slightly, appreciative. Angelina gave a small nod, saying nothing. The first 10 minutes passed smoothly. Harry spoke about mental health advocacy, about redefining masculinity, about stepping away from institutions that no longer aligned with his values. His voice was steady, practiced. He'd told versions of this story many times before. Angelina listened, not passively, not dismissively. She listened the way people do when they're measuring something. When it was her turn, she spoke quietly about refugee camps, about families displaced by war, about children who no longer remembered what home meant. Her words were simple, unembellished. She didn't frame herself as a hero. She framed the work as unfinished. The audience leaned in. Joy Behar smiled, sensing a productive contrast. "It's fascinating," she said, "how advocacy can take so many forms." Harry picked up on that immediately. "Yes," he said lightly. "And I think what matters most is using your platform. If you have a voice and you don't use it loudly, what's the point?" Angelina didn't respond right away. She shifted slightly in her chair, eyes still forward. Then she said calmly, "Sometimes the loudest work happens where there is no platform." It wasn't an argument. It wasn't even a disagreement, but something in the room shifted. Harry smiled, but it didn't quite land. "Well," he replied, "some of us don't get the luxury of working in silence." We glanced between them, sensing the edge but letting it pass. The conversation continued carefully. Harry spoke about scrutiny, about growing up watched, about the pressure of expectation. He described walking away as an act of courage, of self-preservation. Angelina listened again. Then she asked a question, not directly to Harry, but to the room. "Do you think," she said softly, "that choosing visibility is the same as being forced into it?" Harry turned toward her, eyebrows lifting just slightly. "I don't think I chose visibility," he said. "It was assigned to me." Angelina met his gaze. "And yet," she said, "you still choose how you use it." The audience murmured. Harry leaned back, crossing one leg over the other. "Some people don't understand what it's like to have your entire life dissected," he said. "Every decision framed as performance." Angelina nodded once. "I do," she said. "I just learned that not every response needs an audience." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Joy tried to soften the moment. "Well, clearly both of you have had very different paths." Harry cut in, still smiling. "Different paths, sure, but I think there's a tendency to romanticize suffering when it looks noble from a distance." Angelina's expression didn't change. She didn't interrupt. She didn't defend herself. She simply said, "Suffering doesn't need romance. It needs responsibility." That was the first crack. Not visible yet, but irreversible. The cameras kept rolling, the audience stayed seated, and no one, not even Prince Harry, realized that the rules of the conversation had just changed. By the time the first commercial break ended, the studio felt different. Not louder, not chaotic, just watchful. Prince Harry sat forward now, elbows lightly resting on his knees. The relaxed posture from earlier had suddenly disappeared. Angelina Jolie remained still, her composure unchanged, as if the tension belonged to the room, not to her. Whoopi cleared her throat. "All right, let's keep this moving," she said carefully. We're talking about advocacy, responsibility, and accountability, Harry interjected smoothly. Angelina glanced toward him. That's an interesting word, she said. Who do you think it applies to? The audience reacted instantly. A ripple of low murmurs moved through the seats. Harry smiled, but there was something sharper behind it now. It applies to anyone who benefits from a system while criticizing it, he replied. Some people spend decades inside power structures and then pretend they're above them. Angelina didn't bristle. She waited. Then I don't pretend to be above anything, she said. I step away when I no longer need to be seen. That landed harder than applause ever could. Joy Behar leaned forward. Harry, she asked cautiously, do you feel misunderstood by people who've chosen a quieter approach? Harry exhaled, almost laughing. Quiet doesn't mean pure, he said, and silence doesn't automatically equal wisdom. Angelina finally turned fully toward him. Neither does visibility, she replied, or repetition. The word hung there, repetition. Harry's jaw tightened just slightly. I repeat my story because people don't listen, he said, because institutions bury truth unless it's forced into the open. Angelina's response was immediate but measured. Or because some truths don't change, she said, no matter how often they're told. The audience went silent. Whoopi shifted in her chair. Let's talk about service, she suggested quickly. Angelina, your work, Harry interrupted again. Service without accountability is just charity theater. This time, Angelina didn't wait. That's interesting, she said softly, because from where I stand, service that never leaves the microphone is performance. A collective gasp swept the room. Harry straight. Ned, eyes narrowing. So now you're questioning my motives. Angelina met his gaze without blinking. No, she said. I'm questioning outcomes, Joy whispered, barely audible. Oh boy, Harry let out a short breath through his nose. Easy to talk about outcomes, he said, when you were never trapped inside an institution that controlled your voice from birth. Angelina tilted her head slightly. And yet, she said, some people are born into systems that never let them speak at all. That was the moment the audience understood. This wasn't about charity or trauma or even royalty. This was about who gets to define suffering. Harry leaned back, crossing his arms now, defensive, closed. I walked away from everything, he said. Titles, privilege, protection. Angelina's voice didn't rise. And then you sold the story, she said, again. The studio froze. Whoopi opened her mouth, then closed it again. Harry laughed sharp and humorless. So that's it, he said. That's how you see it. I see what's presented, Angelina replied, and I listen to what's repeated. The air felt thin. Joy Behar tried to inject humor. Well, this is getting real. Harry ignored her. You think you're above this, he said to Angelina. Above scrutiny, above criticism. Angelina shook her head once. No, she said. I just don't confuse scrutiny with purpose. That sentence cut deep. Harry leaned forward again, voice tightening. You know what's exhausting? He asked. Being told your pain is branding. That your fight is a performance. Angelina didn't flinch. What's exhausting, she said quietly, is watching pain turned into identity. The audience erupted. Not with cheers, not with boos, but with stunned noise, a mix of disbelief and awe. Whoopi raised a hand. All right, she said firmly. We're going to take a breath here. But Harry wasn't done. You don't get to decide how I heal, he said. And you don't get to decide how the world sees you, Angelina replied. That was it, the line no one could walk back. As the cameras faded to commercial, Harry stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, breathing controlled but shallow. Angelina folded her hands again, her expression unreadable. Behind the scenes, producers were already whispering, because when they came back, this wouldn't be about words anymore. When the cameras came back on, the applause was uneven. Some clapped out of habit, others didn't clap at all. Prince Harry sat upright now, shoulders squared, hands clasped tightly together. The casual ease he had arrived with was gone, replaced by something sharper, defensive, alert, almost braced. Angelina Jolie, by contrast, looked unchanged, calm, grounded, as if the storm had moved around her rather than toward her. Whoopi forced a smile. Welcome back, she said. Let's reset. Harry let out a quiet scoff. Angelina didn't react. Joy Behar leaned forward, voice cautious. Harry, she said, a lot of people watching relate to your story, but some also wonder. Do you ever worry that telling it so often locks you into it? Harry turned to her quickly. "No," he said. "What locks people in is silence." Angelina finally spoke. "Sometimes," she said evenly, "silence is how you move on." Harry laughed, short, incredulous. "Easy to say when the world listens to you without demanding explanations." Angelina met his gaze. "The world listens," she said, "when you stop demanding to be heard." The audience gasped. "Shh!" Harry leaned forward, voice rising for the first time. "So now I'm demanding." "No," Angelina replied. "You're insisting." Whoopi raised her hands. "All right," but Harry was already in motion. "You don't get it," he said, eyes locked on Angelina. "You were admired, protected, celebrated. I was dissected." Angelina nodded slowly. "And yet," she said, "I didn't make it my shield. That hit harder than anything before." Harry's face flushed. "You're implying I hide behind my pain." "I'm saying," Angelina replied carefully, "that pain can become armor, or it can become baggage." The room went still. Joy Behar whispered, "Oh, wow." Without realizing her mic was live, Harry stood up halfway, then sat back down again. A tell, a loss of control. "You think I wanted this?" he snapped. "You think I enjoy reliving it?" Angelina's voice softened, but only slightly. "I think you've built a life around it," she said, "and I don't think you know who you are without it." The audience reaction was immediate and visceral. Some clapped, some groaned, some stared in disbelief. Whoopi's expression hardened. "Angelina," she warned gently. Angelina didn't look at her. Harry stood up fully this time, his chair scraped loudly against the floor. "You don't get to psychoanalyze me on daytime television," he said, voice shaking, not loud but strained. "You don't get to sit there in moral stillness and pretend you're above it." Angelina finally stood as well, not abruptly, not angrily. She stood the way people do when they've already decided something. "I'm not above it," she said. "I'm beyond it." Harry stared at her, chest rising fast. "You think you're better than me?" he said. Angelina shook her head once. "No," she said. "I think you're stuck." The word landed like a blow. Whoopi stood too now, palms out. "All right," she said firmly. "That's enough." Harry turned to her, eyes blazing. "No," he said. "I'm not finished." Angelina looked at him, not with anger, not with pity, with clarity. "Then you never will be," she said quietly. That was the moment. The audience knew, the hosts knew, the crew knew. There was no version of this that ended calmly. Harry grabbed the back of his chair. "I came here to speak my truth," he said, "not to be dismissed by someone who's perfected looking unbothered." Angelina didn't raise her voice. "I didn't dismiss you," she said. "I listened, and then I disagreed." Harry laughed bitterly. "This show," he said, scanning the panel, "pretends to support honesty until it makes people uncomfortable." Whoopi stepped forward. "We support respect," she said, "and this isn't it." Harry turned back to Angelina one last time. "You win," he said sarcastically. "You always do, quietly from your pedestal." Angelina replied with the calmest word she'd spoken all day. "There is no pedestal," she said, "just distance." Harry froze, then nodded once. "Right," he said, "I'm done." He picked up his microphone, unclipped it, and let it drop onto the table with a dull thud. The sound echoed. As he turned toward the exit, the audience erupted, not in applause, not in boos, but in stunned noise. Angelina remained standing. She didn't follow him with her eyes. She didn't say another word. And as Prince Harry disappeared behind the curtain, the question wasn't why he left. It was how he hadn't seen this coming. The curtain didn't slam shut behind Prince Harry. It closed softly. That was the detail people would miss in the replays. The absence of drama in his exit. No storming footsteps. No final glare at the camera. Just a man walking away from a conversation he could no longer control. The studio remained frozen. Angelina Jolie stood exactly where she had been, hands resting lightly at her sides. She didn't turn toward the exit. She didn't watch him go. It was as if she understood something instinctively. Looking back would only pull the moment forward again. Whoopi Goldberg exhaled slowly, her composure hardening into something resolute. "All right," she said, her voice calm but unmistakably firm. "We're going to pause here." The audience didn't applaud. They didn't boo, they waited. Joy Behar leaned back in her chair, eyes wide, whispering something off mic that didn't make it to air. Sarah Haynes stared down at the table, fingers interlaced tightly as if grounding herself. Angelina finally sat. The chair made no sound. Whoopi turned toward her, choosing her words carefully. "Angelina," she said, "thank you for staying." Angelina nodded once. "Conversation matters," she replied, "even when it's uncomfortable." Beepy looked into the camera now, not as a moderator, but as a guardian of the space. We invite guests here to speak freely, she said, but we also expect respect for each other, for the room, for the people watching. The weight of that statement settled quickly. Angelina remained silent. That silence said more than anything she could have added. Behind the cameras, producers were already making calls. Clips were being cued. Social feeds were lighting up. Words like walkout, meltdown, exposed were appearing faster than anyone could track. But in the studio, the mom, Ent, was quieter. Whoopi offered a small nod to Angelina. "We'll take a break," she said. The cameras cut. When they came back, Prince Harry did not return. Angelina sat alone at the table now, the empty chair beside her impossible to ignore. The absence felt deliberate, almost instructive. Joy finally broke the silence. "Well," she said softly, "that was something." Angelina didn't smile. "Conflict doesn't scare me," she said. "Avoiding it does." Whoopi watched her for a long moment, and walking away she asked. Angelina met her gaze. "Walking away can be power," she said, "or it can be surrender. The difference is whether you've said what needed to be said." The audience absorbed that quietly. Later that evening, headlines would argue over who was right and who was wrong. Some would defend Harry, calling the moment unfair, provocative, unnecessary. Others would praise Angelina's restraint, her precision, her refusal to escalate. But one image would circulate more than any quote: the empty chair, a symbol not of exclusion, but of choice. Angelina stood as the segment wrapped. She thanked the hosts, she thanked the audience. She didn't address Harry again. She didn't need to. As the lights dimmed and the set reset for the next topic, one truth lingered long after the broadcast ended. Not every argument is won by staying. And not every silence is weakness. Sometimes the most powerful moment on television is the one where someone realizes too late that they were never in control of the room. And sometimes the walkout isn't the statement. The stillness that follows is some conversations end with applause, others end with headlines, and some end with an empty chair, a silence louder than a NY argument. If you enjoy intense, slow-burn confrontations like this one, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next story where words change everything.